avenue to perform for people. So like, and as JaNae said earlier, it's super personal. So like when we're on stage, we have up multiple screens where we can see the entire chat. We also have screens where we can see the video if we're doing like a Zoom thing. Sometimes we're more like Twitch centric, and sometimes it's more YouTube live, and sometimes it's more just like straight Zoom where it's a meeting and people can interact and talk back to us. But so we have the flexibility to actually interact with that one person right there and make a joke, or the audience members have the ability to make jokes with each other during the show and modify the show. So we've had people request songs that we weren't planning to play, and then we do it. Or we've had audience members give suggestions in a chat, and then later we get to do callbacks when we improvise a different song that they've never heard because we're improvising it. I mean, we'll set up some parameters so we like in the right key together and stuff.
Right.
But essentially it allowed us an opportunity to focus on a technical tight show that we controlled all aspects of. And this has led to a fair amount of other artists being like, how the heck are you doing this? Because the quality was HD, the audio was HD, the scripting was high level, you know, we're hitting like an hour and 10 minutes. And we have multiple cameras going on. And like, so all of these wonderful and we're very fortunate to have access to this stuff. All of this got put to use. And that's amazing. So for me, it sucked. You know, it sucked being sick, but it gave me motivation to like get up every day and sit on the floor and reroute cables and figure out what the protocols needed to be in OBS as a video switcher to make sure I could run 6 cameras at HD quality, what type of computer I needed so that we could pull off a show. So there was a motivation in creating the technical bed that allowed us to create the art. And I think that would not have happened ever if it hadn't been for these times. So it's, I don't know. I think there's a lot of good that came from that. And I think it's something we would continue if tomorrow COVID went away. I don't think this is like some stand-in where we're like, well, oh, we have live shows again. Let's just do that. Cut this out. No, this is like an episodic thing that we want to continue. So for me, it's very exciting and awesome.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've never been really a gigging musician or someone who relied on that as a source of, you know, building fans or making money. Really, it's always been about doing something different and pushing the boundaries of pop music while still remaining inside of that genre. And I 100% agree with everything that Ryan just mentioned about the opportunities that provided. But I think we're in a unique position right now because it's not only like things are changing as far as the way that people are consuming information and consuming media and spending their Saturday nights, but it's also the way that it's changed how people are interacting with each other. And I think personally, you know, as someone who's been online teaching and interacting with students in that format, as someone who's, you know, had a family that's put together family calls every Sunday night at 8 p.m., like, I think that's amazing. And in some ways, even though there's not like the physicality of being in a room with all of your close friends, family, collaborators, I think that this whole situation in 2020 has created a new layer of, you know, how do we get to know the people who are close with us on a different level? And to me, it feels like this space has created a far more intimate space of getting to interact. People care about the world. People care about what's going on. People are engaging politically. People want to have bigger conversations that aren't just, you know, just one sentence here or there or avoid talking about this. I think people are looking for spaces where real conversations and real communications and real intimate experiences with artists and musicians can happen. We were
I miss hugs though.
Hugs, that sucks.
Hugs are nice too.
We were asked to participate in a really awesome fundraiser for a local food bank here in Chicago through an organization called Music Food for Life, where they reached out to several different artists in the Chicago area and said, hey, we're putting together this live premiere. We're going to be raising money for a food bank during COVID that's having trouble, honestly, filling the orders for how many requests for food they're getting. And we were like, yes, absolutely. We would love to be a part of this. And so we, did a song with like a Latin outro and, did some salsa dancing. It was really fun. But, watching the premiere of this, as it premiered live and seeing what people were saying in the comments, in the chat, it was really encouraging and uplifting, and people were engaging over the space of listening to live music together. And, that's what it's about. Like, we're seeing so many amazing new opportunities open up, not just for artists and moving their branding and their marketing and their career forward, which is really important to do, even despite all of this, with all of the big questions and conversations to have, but also how these new virtual spaces are bringing artists, musicians, people closer together and appreciating the cultural value of what a great song or what a great experience can do as far as community.
So you've both kind of alluded to it a little bit, but I want to hear a little more details on this. So, in what or how will JaNae evolve once you're able to go back to live performances, whenever that is? And will you still keep, and again, and Ryan mentioned a little bit, will you still keep what you're doing virtually? Will you add in some more live elements of it? But have you thought about when things go, whatever the new normal is, and you can be in a physical space with a group of people, and how that's going to now change what JaNae is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are great questions. I think to the first point, we are absolutely planning on continuing to live stream, knowing how much control we can have over all of the elements, the technical side, the magic of camera switching and what that allows you to do that you can't do on a theatrical stage is really great. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think, going back to more of a stage performance coming out of January, we're going to have this wealth of really fun pop music material. And I think we could, when we are performing on stage again together, put on a show that is just fun pop music that people just want to dance to and release that energy. Like the first thing I would do, honestly, once, people can all hang out in a group together, is go to a massive dance party and just be around people and just have fun and let go, and I think I want to create that environment at a show where people want to come and listen to and interact with and engage with pop music. Understanding that we've created these characters and these scenarios, though, too, without getting too stage bantery. I mean, I'm just sort of thinking about ideas right now. I mean, maybe there's narratives we can pull in from the Saturday show and the episodic series, and quirks about the characters that will absolutely be present and add an unexpected element, a performative element, an interactive element to those live shows in some way. But I think it's something that we're still, we have to think about a little bit. But yeah, that's my initial.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to get us off track too much, but if there are people listening, the technical side of what we're doing changed drastically as well. Mm-hmm. And that's partially because we couldn't have a band. So we knew that we were limited. And I think that, like, what do they call it? Like, limitations are the compost of a fertile garden or something for creativity. Like, having those limitations made us be super creative. Mm-hmm. And so when we're performing, one of the things that we're doing very, I think, different and unique, it's not a new idea, but the scope to which we've taken it, I think, is pretty different, which you kind of alluded to when you asked me about how many instruments I play. Everything we're doing, with the exception of like a boom, click drum set, is totally live. Mm-hmm. Every time we do a show. And it's because we've basically synced up 6-7 loop pedals. So we're able to bring things in and out between all of our instruments. So JaNae is playing synth and flute and vocals, and I'm playing, bass and drums and vocals and guitar and trumpet and baritone and acoustic guitar and beatboxing and so forth. And we're actually looping all of those instruments to build pop tracks extremely quickly live. And people who watch music that's looped, you're very used to kind of hearing like the loop builds up, and then when you get to the second section, you cut parts out, and then you bring them back in, and this I would say is a little more complex than that because we have so many available options. Mm-hmm. What I would like to see is live, though it's nerve-wracking because it's so much easier to just play back a track. Right? Like we could just play back a track and sing, but part of what makes it, I think, this organic experience, and I'm so excited to see how this works in a live environment, is that we are playing it live. So like when I mess up a bass line, I might have to re-record that, but I don't want the audience to know that. So we just keep going and I just delete the thing and redo the loop and play it. But the organic experience of live music is something that I think is going to be sort of have a rebirth because it is different. It's very different than experiencing it over some crappy ass laptop speakers, as much as that, as cool as that is, right? Or even on headphones where you're like in this little space. So I'm excited to bring all of those same skills to a live stage and pull off a show on a huge PA system, where we're rocking a stage and doing a pop show, but it's all live music that's looped. And I know from, scrolling through, Twitch and YouTube Live and other artists that other artists are getting these same ideas going too. Like this is not like we're like some brilliant masterminds. Like people are going, oh shoot, I can do so much more with what was already available. Yep. And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. That's a really great point. I've learned so much over the last 6 months, just as far as like how to make loops, how to build loops, and how to have our different looping parts interact with each other. It's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. I would like to see that on stage too.
I know.
Now that you mention it.
I know. It's just a lot to set up. It's like you set up everything for a full band.
Yeah.
But there's only two people.
It does. That sounds really exciting, though. I definitely have to pay attention to what you guys are doing in 2021 and try to catch some live events now I'm expecting that, just so you know. What you just described, I am expecting. So you just need to make it happen at some point.
We'll do it.
Awesome. So the last little bit I want to touch on is the new intro and outro music for the show. Which I want to thank you both for, but particularly Ryan, who composed, and I don't know how many instruments you played on those, but it's absolutely amazing. So for the first 200 episodes I've had, a friend of mine, and I've been very fortunate about this, a friend of mine who is a Broadway sound designer, her name is Amy Altadona, she composed the original music out of me just begging her over email to see if she would create something in the genre of, to be honest, it was a mixture of Tom Waits and the theme song from Justified, which is the Hard Times to Come song. And so I was like, after 200 episodes, I wanted to change things up a bit, and I was very fortunate that you both agreed, and particularly Ryan, to create something out of nothing, just from a couple of suggestions. So I want to ask you then, how do you look at composing, and particularly, let's say, in this assignment where I sent a couple of random ideas about what I was feeling, but was open very much to anything. So how do you approach compositions like that? And was it helpful that I gave parameters or not, and how did that kind of work out?
Yeah. Wow. So I think this relates to a lot of the things that I've said today. My process, I get it, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I got these ideas. I'm going to listen to a bunch of stuff and listen to these examples. And so the suggestions are great. And I think any time that an artist can give another creative person parameters to work within, and then back away and not get too microcontroller-y on it, it usually ends up being the best for that